Probably one of the more common questions I get down in the comments below is, what is the best iPad stylus out there? And I'm just gonna cut right to the chase. None of them, except the Apple Pencil. If you want to draw with accuracy, if you want pen pressure that actually works, the only thing that is going to work for you is the Apple Pencil. Any of the other Bluetooth styluses out there are, I'll just say it, they're horrible. Don't even bother with them, and I'll explain why. And I know a whole bunch of people are racing to the comments right now as I speak to say, Brad is an Apple fanboy, he's biased. Sorry, got thirsty and needed a little Kool-Aid. Okay, seriously, now that I've gotten the short answer out of the way and made a bunch of people mad, let's dive in, let's break this apart a little bit. Going all the way back to the Apple Pencil announcement video, Johnny Smooth Talkin' Ive explained how the pencil works. There are sensors in the pencil itself, and there are sensors in the screen, at least sensors that go beyond the basic touch sensors, sensors that actually pick up the pencil specifically. The pencil and those sensors, they work together. The screen knows where the pencil is, and the pencil is sending data back to the iPad Pro. What angle are you drawing at? What level of pressure are you applying? Information like that is being sent back to the iPad Pro. And so far, that's not that different than how most drawing tablets out there work, whether we're talking Wacom or Microsoft or anybody else. But what's really key here are the sensors underneath the screen, because the Apple Pencil is working together with those sensors. I'm saying this over and over again, because the Bluetooth styluses cannot use the sensors underneath the iPad. They have to use the touch sensors that are built for your fingertip in order to activate like the iPad screen for you to draw on it. So those touch sensors on the iPad screen, it's the same kind of screen that any tablet or phone uses. It is called a capacitive touch screen. A capacitive touch screen only works if there is a small electrical charge that hits the screen. And believe it or not, your fingertips, your body in general, has a small electrical charge in it. Not as much as like a wall outlet or the Hoover Dam, but it does have electricity flowing through it. That's why your finger works on a phone, but not like a pencil or pen that you just grab from anywhere and you need a specific kind of stylus to actually draw or write on your phone or tablet. Because even the most basic styluses need to conduct electricity. The electricity has to flow from your body through the pen, stylus, whatever, into that screen. You'll also find with these capacitive screens that you need a slightly larger touch area than you might if you're using like an Apple Pencil or a Wacom tablet. And so when you're using one of these styluses, the first thing you're going to notice is how inaccurate they tend to be. They're either off by a couple pixels, sometimes they're off by a lot of pixels. Where the tip of your pen lands isn't necessarily where the line or exactly where the tap of that screen is. Now, the design of most tablets like the iPad Pro, or I should call it iOS, Apple, or Android, is that the icons are bigger, like a lot of the touch areas are bigger to accommodate for that sort of thing. However, when you're drawing, you want that accuracy. You want your line to appear exactly where that stylus point is hitting the screen, but it's just hard to do. The other thing you're going to notice is if you're drawing fast, if you sketch quickly, or if you sketch lightly or anything, you're going to drop a lot of strokes, and I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's not the conductive force isn't quite working every stroke if you're moving too fast, or you'll notice the stroke will start to pick up a little too late if you're drawing fast. And those kind of things when you're drawing are killer. They suck all the fun out of it. So even the styluses that have a little bit more accurate of a point and things like that just still don't stand up. They run into the same problems that you have when you're just drawing with your finger. And then when you add Bluetooth to that, Bluetooth can take some information and actually transmit it to the iPad. For example, it might pick up the pen pressure, for example, in the pen, and like digitally transmit it so it knows how hard you're pressing. But my experience using this thing is that's not that good either. Oftentimes the pressure kicks in like a hair too late, or a half a second too late sometimes with some of these things, or it won't be a smooth pressure curve. It'll go from like really thin line to blah, like a really thick line really, really fast. So that information, whether it's not being communicated fast enough or the pressure curve just isn't sensitive enough within the pen, whatever it is, all the ones that I've tested, the things that it's supposed to do well, it doesn't do well. They're just too late. They're just too laggy. And don't even get me started on palm rejection. It's across the board just horrible. If your hand is on the tablet, there is a 50% chance that when you pick up that pen tip, your screen's going to zoom in and out, or you're going to leave ghost lines, or just some of them have palm recognition, but I've never experienced any that are good. Even the ones where it only leaves a line 20% of the time is annoying. 20% of the time. And when you're drawing and sketching, that's just a really frustrating experience. And I should point out all of these things, the pressure curve, the palm rejection, all of these just work extraordinarily well when you're using the Apple Pencil. And it's all going back to because the iPad Pro was built specifically to be used with the Apple Pencil the way other drawing tablets are. So this isn't necessarily the fault of your older iPads, it's just the way they were built. You know, you don't get mad at your car because it doesn't fly. The one thing I do get annoyed about is that there are companies out there making these styluses and charging, you know, anywhere between $50 and $80 for them, and making these promises and comparing them to the iPad Pro. And they may have the features that the Apple Pencil has, but the features don't work nearly as well as the Apple Pencil. And yeah, so I get frustrated. But that's also why these companies never send me review units, because they know I'd rip them to shreds. So I hope that clarifies a little bit. I think a lot of the reason I get questions is because the last time I reviewed a Stylus was well over a year ago, and a lot of people are wondering, hey, have they improved since then? And I think for now, until Apple maybe opens up the use of the sensors in the iPad Pro to other people, which I don't think they'll do because they're Apple, but if they do someday, maybe then we'll get some good styluses. But until then, just the reality of how a capacitive screen works just really doesn't mix with making a good drawing stylus. It's like oil and water. It's just not going to happen, so I'm not going to spend time reviewing it. So that's all I've got for today. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave those down below. Obviously, I am not a scientist. However, some of you guys will probably let me know down in the comments below if I got things a little bit off. Be kind, be kind. Whenever I explain these technical issues, sometimes I get things a little bit off, but that's totally cool. That's how I learn. But the end result and the point of this is still going to remain the same. Even if I got a fact only 90% of the way right, the reality is that the user experience of the stylus still sucks. So that's all I've got. I'll see you guys in a couple of days.